What's up, everyone? I'm Jason Harmon here with my co-host, Brevin. How you doing, man?
I'm doing so good. This is madness, baby. We're finally doing it. It's NHL trade deadline day. My cat's looking at me weird. We've been building up to this. I'm very excited. I've hit the vape. I'm ready to go. I'm good to go.
I'm glad you're properly fueled. Yeah, I had to lock my swab out. He had strong opinions on this. But welcome to the Skolcial Network. This is our first show. Brev and I tossed some ideas around about 8 months, a year ago about doing it together. So this is it, and it's an exciting time to be doing it. We are going to be talking through a few things, but first, kind of want to get you guys a vibe of what we're going to be doing as part of the Vikes Now Network. Brev, how would you describe what this is? Because I can't even really put into words.
I guess, other than dudes being guys and rocking hard, I want to say, because there's so many great Vikings shows and podcasts out there, but we kind of wanted it to be a little different. And I know people have said that before, but we want real insight, but we also want to be dudes rocking. So you're
Naturally.
not, yeah, of course. And dudes do rock. If you don't think dudes rock, then anyway. So we want it to be a fun kind of like, not 100% serious. Not that we're not going to say serious things, but like, it's just going to be fun. It's just going to be dudes being guys all the time, except for when we have chicks on. Happy
Bros
International.
broing out, bro. Yeah.
What happened?
Said just bros broing out.
Yeah, we're just dudes rocking.
I don't even know what that means, but we are going to have some guests. Obviously, Rev and I come from the cesspool, which is Vikings Twitter. So we're going to be leaning into that a little bit. It's not going to dictate the show, but if you ever want to know some very valuable, accurate, and sane opinions, definitely check Vikings Twitter out if you haven't. Definitely some good ideas, but we're going to be doing things like Purple Profile, where we're going to bring on some guests. One potential guest I want to shout out now is our boy Eli, who did our graphic package, the GOAT of, I would say, Vikings graphic design, but really just graphic design. Dude's the homie. So Eli, we're excited to get you on at some point. We're thinking of some other guests, but we want to maybe not turn it into too much of a brawl pit in here, but maybe we do. Who knows? It depends on what you guys want.
That would rock.
That would rock. That is dudes rocking by definition.
All pits do rock.
So first thing we want to do as our first official topic is talk about something I don't think Brev, any Vikings podcast or Vikings content person is even touched on. Very original idea. We're going to give an ode to Kirk Cousins because nobody's talking about Kirk Cousins right now. So Brev, you and I were both kind of let in on some confirmation about some stuff going on behind the scenes, which we kind of thought may have been, without getting too specific, we got slightly different details. So from your side of things, what is the current state of affairs with Kirk?
And it's good you mentioned that nobody's talked about this. So if you guys have not heard, Kirk Cousins he's a free agent. And
no,
I guess from the information that we've been let on, Kirk Cousins might sign with another team and might not be the quarterback of the Vikings anymore. And by that, I mean Kirk Cousins is probably gone. You could probably bet the mortgage that Kirk Cousins will not be the quarterback. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. From how I see it and how I think everybody should see it, it should be time that you start, if you haven't already, getting prepared for the post Kirk Cousins era. And that scares a lot of people because when I think of non-Kirk Cousins quarterbacks being a mere 24 years old, I think of the Matt Castle, Donovan McNabb, Christian Ponder.
Hell of an era. That was incredible. What are you talking about? Josh Freeman, Monday Night Football? Come on, bring that back.
It had moments that rocked, but it was pretty bad. And with Kirk Cousins brought that stability that we got used to for 5.5 years. But I think that it's time we start getting used to the fact that we will not be seeing a purple number 8, at least not with Cousins on the name, maybe a rookies number 8, but
possibly. Yeah, and from what we've both kind of been let in on is a lot of the reports out there probably are pointing in an accurate direction because Atlanta does seem to be the favorite, but maybe a lot of the details, Florio, are not entirely accurate. What it seems to come down to is length of contract. And ultimately, again, we've heard slightly different variations, but either Kwesi or the Wilfs shut down anything more than a 1-year deal, which even if Kirk comes back or were to come back, we would be happy to join next week and have some great news that he signed a 1-year, $5 million deal. Don't think it's going to happen, but it seems that would insinuate the plan to go with a rookie quarterback. Hopefully have them sit a little bit, but if you're only bringing back Kirk 1 year and you're at the 11th pick, you're probably hoping a quarterback falls to you or can make that move to get one. I will say, and we'll talk a little bit about some polls you and I sent out yesterday and kind of share our thoughts on them. I like Kirk as a person a lot, especially quarterback. Last year on Netflix, really showed who he is as a dude being a guy. Him and Coop eating chicken tenders after a win.
Rocked.
Being guys, 100%, totally rocked. But I do lean towards thinking that this is probably the best move. It's by far the riskiest move. I'm okay with that because, to your point, you've been so familiar with Kirk. He's been the longest tenured quarterback of my time as a fan. But I also got to see not only the guys you mentioned, Castle, dudes like that, Bradford for a little bit. I was there for the Tavares Jackson, the second stint of Brad Johnson, the Gus Frerotte revival with the 99-yard touchdown pass to Bernard Berrien, right? So we've seen some stuff. I think that Kwesi's probably aware that the pressure's on. He only got a 4-year deal as GM. And this is going to lead to a ton of pressure that he better hit. And I think we could probably both assume that KOC is going to make the call on who the player is, and it's on Kwesi to provide any necessary moves to make it happen.
Yeah, and if all of this is for naught and Kirk Cousins signs an extension, we just lost any and all credibility in the first 8 minutes of our show. And that's okay.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
Let's immediately. I mean, there are tons of Vikings podcasts out there that have zero credibility. We might as well join that bunch.
Yeah.
There's no issue. So while we're on the topic, Brev, you and I each sent out a poll. We'll go to yours first. I think how you worded it was really interesting, and the results kind of threw me off. There were some good replies, quote tweets, things like that. But what was your poll, and what were we getting feedback on? What were the people saying?
My poll was asking, it got about 1,300 votes for yes or no. The poll asked, was the Kirk Cousins experiment in Minnesota a failure? With that, I feel like you can go either way because I totally understand, and I'm trying to bring up the poll so I see that. I think it was 67% no to 30, whatever that math is, percent yes. I completely understand either way of thinking. Yes, we know, like, I get it. I know the Minnesota Vikings are a failure of a franchise and have been since 1960 or whatever, 61.
61.
Yeah. I get it. They come up short. It happens. We're used to it, born into it. It's fine. When you're looking at the context of the Kirk Cousins era, and I'm not saying it's Kirk Cousins' fault. I completely get that this team, for the most part, failed to put a decent team around him. Like, this year was probably the best all-around team around him since he got here, just in terms of like how the offense was playing. I guess 2019 you could argue is better in terms of how the offense
so
was
lucky every possible thing went our way, though. I mean, glad that worked out. 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, but not that it's his fault. I think and I don't want to say anytime you don't win a Super Bowl is a failure, because at the end of the day, that's what everybody's going for. But like, I don't know. You sign a guy, and it's not as simple as just throwing one guy into a team of 53 and a coaching staff of however many and expect to win a Super Bowl. But in the context that the front office thought this was the guy that was going to get you to contend deep into the playoffs for years to come, and you come away with one playoff win in 5.5 years. It's like, well, it wasn't a success.
I voted on your poll, specifically based on the wording of it, which was the Kirk Cousins experiment a failure?
Right.
That it was a failure. And the reason why is, to your point, 2017, we went, what? So there were 16 games, 13-3, I believe, with a rotation of quarterbacks early in the season. At the time, basically a paraplegic Sam Bradford for a couple games, and then came in with Case Keenum, and we went 13-3, largely because of the defense. And Kirk was the missing piece. We had three free agent quarterbacks. You think now's a weird situation? You had three verified starting capable quarterbacks in Teddy, Bradford, and Case Keenum at that time. And the big move was made. Rumor has it, wink, wink, that Zimmer wasn't a big fan, that Spielman brought in Kirk to be that missing piece. I do want to go on just a short rant because it drives me insane. A lot of times people really form their opinion of disliking Kirk strictly off of one game in 1 year, which is the Chicago game in 2018 to end the season. That was a win and in game. For clarity, in that game, Kirk had an absolute stinker, and I don't want that to get lost. 1 touchdown and 132 yards. Now, for people who just say, that's it, I knew Kirk was fake from then. Well, hold on. Yes, losing that game caused us to miss the playoffs, but I think there's important context about what really happened that season, where there were a total of 3 games, including that one, where one phase of the football game lost the game for us, or in one case, tied. Obviously, Kirk went off in the Green Bay game. I believe he had like 4 touchdowns over 400 yards, and now one of the more accurate kickers in the league decided to screw us, causing us to end in a tie, Carlson. The Rams game, that's a performance of Kirk's in a loss at the Coliseum against a team that ended up making the Super Bowl. And I'm just bringing up the exact numbers here. That gets kind of lost in the sauce. That was a hell of a Thursday night game. Kirk, 50 attempts, 36 completions, 422 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jared Goff, our stud defense, gave up 465 yards and 5 touchdowns on 33 attempts in 26 completions. So did Kirk fall apart in a weirdly, ironically timed noon game he's usually good at to clinch a playoff spot? Yes. But I don't think that's, a lot of people just form their opinion off that when each phase of the game cost us that playoff spot at different points in the year. 2019 was incredible. That was a fun ride. 2020, 2021, I just refuse to, other than JJ highlights, I don't want to acknowledge. But I think for what he was brought in to do, yeah, it was a failure. Was he a failure? No. Did he have moments where he maybe failed under big pressure? Yes, but the whole team did. I just think it's the right call now, given where the team is. I've seen some people say, how can you pay JJ, not Kirk? Well, JJ is, what is he, 24? Going to be 25?
Yeah.
And he's potentially on pace to be one of, if not the best to ever play his position. You pay that man. 100% you pay him. So I love Kirk, and, you know, wearing my funeral gear today, got the chain on. Shout out Vikings Kids Club for letting me sign up my 7-month-old and stealing the swag that should have been his. But I think it is the right time to move on, and yeah, it's going to be a hell of a risk, but I think it could be exciting. So I also sent out a poll, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Brad. It just ended. I didn't get as many votes as you. Way to rub it in.
Right.
Assuming what we're hearing is correct and that the Vikings were only willing to offer a 1-year deal, are they making the right decision by not offering Kirk a multi-year contract? Out of 742 votes, 71% of people said they're making the right call by only offering a max of 1 year, based on the behind the scenes reports we're hearing. Again, we don't want to claim to know anything is gospel, but this is just what we're hearing. So, Brev, what are your thoughts on that? Where do you lean as far as a potential length of what was offered to Kirk?
I do want to mention it's kind of funny because I feel like we have the same kind of demographic of following, obviously.
Yeah, and the differences are a little interesting.
But yeah, your thing, are they making a mistake by not offering Kirk an extension? Everybody's saying
no. It's are they making the right decision?
They're making the right decision.
Yeah. So I guess literally what you said, just inverse, same result.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but on mine, they're saying no, the experiment wasn't a failure. So like they want to move on, but it wasn't. Anyway, I don't know. This fan base is funny. So
That's yeah.
I really think, truthfully, I was fine either way if you extend him or you don't. I guess I was leaning more towards this team has never actually like really tried to draft a quarterback of the future in their history. And by really try, I mean like going to the top 10. They've never drafted a quarterback in the top 10 in their history. They've never had a first overall pick in the team's history. So I lean more towards that because I'm thinking of the future. But I totally would be okay with Kirk getting an extension. I really don't think it's a wrong decision either way because it's totally understandable and justifiable from both sides. So you want to move on, try to get quarterback of the future, get younger, build up for the rest of the decade and beyond. Cool. The roster's young, get younger, whatever. Do you want to try to win now in a weak NFC with Kirk for the next 2-3 years? Yeah. Are Vikings ownership and or Kwesi somewhat justified or completely justified not wanting to give a 36-year-old quarterback coming up a torn Achilles fully guaranteed money or like 80 to 90% of the contract guaranteed? Yeah, they're pretty justified in that. So really, either way, you could convince me. I don't think Kirk's play is going to drop off much, if at all, off a torn Achilles because of his play style, but I don't know. You have to factor in the fact that it's a new regime too, and they want their guy going forward. Kirk's not their guy, and of course O'Connell has the ties, but a new regime is going to want their guy to tie themselves to, and they know too that with that comes the clock on their job starting to tick, if it's not already started ticking on one of them. But that's beside the point.
So you don't think Jaron Hall is that guy? Definitive answer, breaking news.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not.
I'm extremely shocked. I witnessed his performance against Green Bay in person, and I was just blown away by his ability to do nothing. So
yeah, I mean,
agree to disagree.
I love leaving room for anything, especially in the NFL, to happen. But I'm going to say he's not the guy. I'm just breaking
as
news.
we're recording. Kind of ironically, I'm getting blown up by the Vikings text chain and Cam Bynum and his dog.
Nice. Arf, arf, arf. I'm a dog.
I don't think it's really Cam Bynum texting me, but I guess we'll see. So with that in mind, again, functioning off of the fairly widely accepted thought process that Kirk Cousins is probably gone, most likely to Atlanta. One ironic thing I noticed on Twitter was somebody saying, hey, we're about to enter the end of the Kirk Cousins era. I was watching The Voyage on the Vikings YouTube, and I realized, ironically, that started the game after he left, potentially, if he does leave, in Atlanta. Ominous shit, man. I'm telling you. The league is so scripted. It ain't even funny. Anyways, with that in mind, let's talk about who we think QB1 and QB2, in obviously if we draft a rookie, could start out the gate, probably will sit for a little bit, are going to be at the opening of the season. So, Brev, I'll go to you on this.
So on September 2024 opening day, whether that's the Thursday, probably won't be Sunday or Monday of opening weekend, quarterback one of your Minnesota Vikings and mine and Jason's Minnesota Vikings.
Thank you.
Will be none other than the peak dudes rock, Nicky Darts, Nick Mullins. And I don't see that take around here a lot, but he knows the offense. You're looking for a bridge quarterback guy anyway. I know Nick Mullins is like chaos, but turnovers mean more, obviously. But I think the offense put like for games that Mullins started the entire thing, they were putting up 420, 450 yards total offense per game.
He ranked 10th in efficiency, which is
they were moving the ball. So
insane.
If you can harbor that dude's rock into not turning the ball over every 2 seconds,
other
you got
dudes
a great quarterback on the roster. Yeah. The bridge
I
is
think
there.
I have a bone to pick with Nick Mullins, who I'm sure is watching this first episode of a low-tier Vikings podcast.
He told me he was.
Oh, sick. I saw he was trading Bitcoin earlier, so I didn't know if
he
he was connected. That actually watching this would be completely on brand for somebody who's on their phone trading Bitcoin.
Mhm.
I did a Nick Mullins chaos parlay in week 18 because I had nothing to live for and just wanted to see what happened. Everything hit. JJ yards, JJ TD, Mullins over 350, except Jordan Addison, who fell 9 yards short because on the last two attempts to throw the ball to him, he got picked off. So my $10 would have turned into like 480. So Nick Mullins owes me something. I don't know what. You could Venmo me $480 if you're going to be the starting quarterback. But no, in all seriousness, he's just a dude being a guy, man. He's just throwing the ball. He. There's a reason he broke, for better or worse, every record of Favre's at Southern Miss.
Yeah.
So your QB1, who's your QB2?
Yeah, and by me saying QB1 is Nick Mullins, I'm not saying that Nick Mullins is the guy going forward at all. I'm just saying he's QB1.
Likely starter to open the season.
Right.
Safest bet.
Exactly. And I totally see them getting a free agent quarterback. I'm just saying with the cap space and the holes on your team, the bridge is built. There's no need to go build another one to cross a freeway. That was kind of a tough metaphor. That was kind of I'm so nice.
Bro.
QB2. What's his name? Jonathan James McCarthy. Whether that be via
Name.
trade up to
Nice.
the NFL,
Government name.
yeah, I had to throw it. I Googled it. Yeah, it's Jonathan James. Whether that's via trade up because apparently the NFL is in love with him, whether that's if he falls because again, like we think we know what's going to happen with quarterbacks. Like a couple years ago, we knew Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis were like, oh, maybe like Malik Willis will go top 10, top 15, top 20, and he drops to the third, and Pickett drops to 20. Not that we thought they were going second, third overall, but we thought they'd get picked earlier.
Look at Will Levis last year.
Yeah.
Projected top 3 pick. The day before the
Exactly.
draft was minus money to be in the top 3 or 5 and ended up going 33rd, 34th, something like that in the early second.
And that's the proof right there. Like we think we can be so sure and hearing all these rumors, and that goes for Kirk too, but we just don't know until it happens. So JJ McCarthy falling to 11 could totally happen. If you're a JJ McCarthy hater, I guess. If you're basing your opinion if you're basing your opinion on 2 combine throws when he killed the rest of the combine, that's your choice. I can't help you there. But that would be my prediction for QB2, and I think I can't speak for everybody. I think everybody should be okay with that. It's just fine.
I mean, I was fully on the JJ hate train, but now I'm getting there. I see the JJ to JJ
Good.
vision. QB1 for me, I'm just gonna go basic as all hell. I think where there's smoke, there's some fire typically, and I think Darnold's just a easy fit for that offense to just not be the downside of Nick Mullins. He's not going to get you
the
the
next choice.
100 yards. He's not going to get you the insane throws, but he will deliver the ball fairly accurately, move the ball down the field, and hopefully it's enough. Hopefully we can actually lean on an existent running game. We'll probably talk about running backs next week. We probably will have signed one at least already. I think he's maybe a starter for 2 or 3 games. I do think McCarthy's probably the most likely, but one trend I'm noticing is a certain man out of North Carolina who played for a certain Vikings quarterback coach seems to be trending downward in mock drafts. And in some cases, even goes to the Vikings at pick 2 or 3 with a proposed trade up. I think Drake May or McCarthy both fit, but just a bit different. I'm going to go with May. I think his skill set's very good for O'Connell's offense. Do I think he's perfectly consistent all the time? No, he's got a little bit of chaos in him, but I think that with time he can grow, he can develop. I think in an ideal situation, the Vikings are competitive for a wild card spot next year without having to play a first-year quarterback, and then they're ready to go in 2025 along with that $100+ million cap space, which we're not going to have a roster other than like 4 guys, but that's a lot of cap space. That sounds exciting.
LaQuasey Cook.
LaQuasey Cook, baby. I do want to introduce an informal segment that will probably become an actual segment. I'm going to bring up this post here. This is what we're going to call, don't have a graphic for it, we're going to build one, the Vikings Facebook dumpster fire post of the week. If you have not been on Vikings Facebook, on the fan pages, I will say for your mental health, don't. I think Vikings Twitter is pretty rough, but Vikings Facebook is insane. Here's a big brain move that Kwesi should take note of from an unnamed Vikings fan in the Minnesota Vikings fans Facebook page. Draft JJ McCarthy. All right, good start. Reasonable. We like that.
Yeah.
Trade
Okay.
them to Harbaugh's Chargers for Herbert. One thing about that, just a little tiny note. Not sure the trade value's crazy equal there on the
Are you
surface.
sure?
But small issue.
Mhm.
Chargers do pick 6 picks ahead of the Vikings. So,
Mm.
Brev, I mean, this is something to dive into. Going to take a lot of thought work on your end. What do you think of this master plan?
So, when NFL teams make trades, okay, they have to call the offices in New York, just for everybody's information. I think one of these teams would probably say no.
No.
I'm not sure which team would say no, but I'm damn sure that one of them would probably be declining this trade.
Yeah. And if the Chargers wanted McCarthy, just draft him at 5 and then trade Herbert for probably multiple first round picks.
Right.
So,
Or don't.
yeah, that one, have both of them. Do a split back formation with 2 quarterbacks and just see what the hell happens.
Jonathan James, Justin McCarthy, Herbert.
Man, we thought we had a lot of J's on our team. That's going to be wild. JJ, TJ, JA.
Yeah.
As a J, I'm biased.
Oh, thank God. Oh, KJ's gone. Oh, my day's better.
KJ is, I don't know, man. We could get desperate for wide receiver 3. I don't know.
Dude, but oh, God. Kwesi, if you're watching this and you give KJ Osborne money, I'm coming to TCO. I'm not going to harm anybody. I'm just coming there, and I'm going to let you have a piece of my mind. That's all.
An aggressively worded letter.
Tangent, yeah.
Just hand delivered.
I'm going to stand out there like arms crossed and like stomp my foot.
So on that ominous note, I think it's time to end our first episode. Brev, any last thoughts on?
Oh man, I don't know. Go watch the rest of the Vikes Now network.
Paul Allen gave us a shout out. I don't know, kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
I like to read it in his voice with him just screaming a simple compliment of "You guys do good work."
Shout out to those guys at Vikes Now. They do good work.
Why are you doing a Patrick Mahomes impersonation?
I don't know.
We're going to work on the bits. This is episode 1. We're going to work on the bits, work on the impressions. We're going to get there. But thank you guys for joining. We will have more content, actual setup content in the future. So thank you for roughing it with us in episode 1. Again, subscribe to the Vikes Now Network. We got some really cool stuff coming. I know a couple things are going to be announced either today or in the coming days. We're going to have some pretty sick stuff with some pretty awesome people we've been lucky to know through the Vikings community. So with that, we're signing off. We'll see you guys here in the next week.